motion to seal the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded it?
Phyllis.
So who made the motion?
No.
You did.
Okay, I make the motion, you make the second, and then we have to do roll call.
Aye, yes.
We did, aye.
Aye.
Aye. The camera.
I have a question about my evaluation. I want it pulled and I don't want it where it is. I don't know where it is.
Well, the evaluation was completed after you resigned, right?
Correct.
Oh, you mean, oh,
I think
don't
it's
want
kinda
it.
moot to have it in there.
I do too, and I don't want it in there, and if it's gonna be in there, then I'm gonna make an issue of it. So, I'm gonna make an issue of it because things were included in that evaluation after the evaluation period, number one, and number two, I don't think it was fairly done, so. If it gets pulled, I'll let it go. If it doesn't get pulled.
Do you wanna touch base with Ellen and just get her thoughts on that? My thought personally is, why would you do an evaluation after somebody quit? And why would it be done
Why do
after
you have to
they
get
leave?
her finishing? Whether,
I don't think she finished it after he quit, I think she.
Yep, she
No,
did.
it's dated afterwards.
It's dated after I resigned, and.
It's dated after he's done.
And it wasn't ever even covered with me until the 4th of September.
Right, I think she did that last final memo to sort of close out everything. And then I think David was trying to reach you for
I'm
a
gonna
period
read
of
it, throw it
time.
away.
I mean, do you just want that last page removed?
No,
I think you should have
I don't
something
want it
in
at
the-
all.
But you can put they can always put something in the personnel file, is a memo for the personnel file, but I don't think a review, I don't know if it's warranted. Usually when an employee leaves, you don't do a review on that employee, it's
Well, no,
dead
it
at
was
that
the
point,
regular review period, it was started before.
right?
Well, I can tell you what Dave told me. And part of what's in there,
So then do you want?
why he did it was because I was leaving and she wanted to bring it up.
It's up
That
to
was
him as
about
an
the weather.
employee, he can make a decision if it's executive or not.
is it in there?
I didn't see it there.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of, there's all those.
Are you okay with talking about it in public session, or do you
I
want
don't
to go
care.
in a non-public?
We can stay in public session as far as I'm concerned, and if you're gonna stay in public session, just be prepared for public comments from the employee, not from the selectman, from the employee, because the employee's got a lot to say about that, you know, if we're gonna kick it around.
But if you're gonna do that, then you should have the.
I should have Ellen
You should
here.
have the chief here.
Yep. that's
So
fine
why don't
with me.
we,
If she just wants to pull it out and get rid of it,
ask her,
that's fine.
maybe,
If she doesn't wanna
see if
do
she wants
that,
to come for the next meeting, and we can put her on the agenda. And that way we can discuss the performance evaluation, either being kept or unkept or whatever we're gonna do.
I don't know if it's, it's gonna be in the,
If
It's
everybody's
gonna be in
using
there
it,
somewhere.
it's all in there somewhere.
It's gonna be in this packets, these are all
that's everybody's searching in or something.
so why don't we address it next week?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not
Cause
going.
we haven't approved them
Is it in
yet, so
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah.
we haven't reviewed it
They
yet,
should,
so
you all should
Missed
review
it,
that.
Dave.
I reviewed it already once, but I think as far as whether or not we keep it in there, because I don't know, personally, I think if you're gonna put that in the file, then
Well, if we're gonna put that in the file, then I'm getting, statements from the people that I used to work for that put in there
This
as
is
well.
9/10, that was,
That's when I read it.
No, but what's it say at the top?
8/16.
8/16?
Oh, 9/4, she
9/4.
signed it,
9/4.
but what is
What's-
8/16, David Roy signed it?
David Roy signed it as
No,
the
9/7,
evaluator. Is the date Bill signed it?
you signed it.
when did you give her your notice?
It was effective.
I think the
the
resignation,
Effective
letter-
the 27th
the resignation
of
letter's in
August.
there too.
It was the 27th. 27th.
But the evaluation period was July.
She gave, he gave that August 13th, but it was the 27th, so.
Yeah, but the evaluation period was July.
So we signed it 8/16 and he gave his notice on the 13th.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta be really careful when you do
I only
evaluations after
signed,
somebody
I signed
resigns.
receipt of that,
I
I signed that as receipt of the copy of the evaluation.
whenever somebody resigns,
Right, it
just
doesn't mean that you agree
historically
with
and
anything
from what
that
I've,
Right.
my experience, usually somebody gives me their notice, I don't continue on with the
See you
evaluation.
later, goodbye.
I might put a note in personnel file, I always call it reader file. You're gonna put a overall view, and that's
Just
in
put a note
case
saying he resigned.
if I leave tomorrow and somebody else starts, and then he wants to come back, somebody can see what my notes were of that employee,
Right.
versus having a signed valuation. If he came back and signed after he left, kind of is, I don't know, cause I don't know what my I don't know what that reviewer's thought process was after the person quit. It creates, a conflict.
There's no other, I don't think there's any other report.
No, it's just
done. I think there
it's
was,
just a memo.
but I think the memo was started and then it stopped and concluded on that form.
Yeah, but David signed it after, he signed it on 9/16.
Well, I don't even know why David was doing the review, cause I didn't work for David, I worked for her. Number one.
The other
Number
issue is he
two,
signed
she
it
will-
on 9/16, so unfortunately he signed it after you gave your notice. If he signed it on 9/13, I'd say maybe he has a leg to stand on that. The fact that it was signed after 3 days after he gave his resignation, it's conflicting to me. Because I don't know what the mentality was of somebody getting turned in their notice. It almost looks like, if there's anything negative in it, it's vindictive.
You
It's
mean
how
like
it
the
looks, it's
internal
just a
investigation
perception.
that was
It's a-
raised and
It's
conducted?
it's a perception. You can have that, but you can add that as a separate, here's my notes, and here's all my notes, I'm gonna include my notes from the dates I wrote them down. Everything I do is time dated and stamped,
These
so
dates are all
when I have an issue, it's in my files, so whatever notes, she's a police officer, so I know she's got all this documented. She probably has dated notes, all those notes have to go into the personnel file. But when you put that in there and you sign it after the resignation, it almost looks like a vindictive approach. When I read through that, I was kinda like, I was on the fence. It puts question into
Can I look at it?
She was just putting in the last memo was, I mean, her and I talked about it before this was completed to see, does she finish the internal or does she just document it here that she started the internal and then it was closed?
Yeah, you almost have to stop but then there's no purpose of having a review where I'm rating it. Like they rated him in here 1 through 5, right?
Yep.
Right,
And they should have never
but I
rated
think the
him.
beginning component of it, I think all of it was based off of before and then it was just that one note at the end.
Well, it's materially incorrect as well. I was 100% compliance on the registrations for 3 years, number one. Number two, no one ever said anything to me about reports, whether they're complete, incomplete, made a mistake. Nobody ever said to me, that's,
And that's,
no one ever told me I was under investigation. Nobody. I never heard that one when it was open, when it was closed, what the results were, none of that until I saw it in there. No one ever told me I was having an internal investigation done on me or that an internal investigation took place and you were cleared. Never heard anything about that. And that we can dispute that as well if you want to, because that was never in question until the incident with the rabid fox. And when she asked me about that, I told her yes, I had a personal weapon on me, and I would continue to carry a personal weapon for my own personal protection. And when she told me not to do that anymore, when she gave me the official warning, I was in your office when that happened, and I told Dave the same thing. I never carried a weapon after that. Not my personal weapon, or certainly not the police issued weapon. So to bring that up in my evaluation was just bullshit. But that was another thing that came up that I was like, and when I signed that to get out of there, I said to Dave, I said, I don't understand why we're even doing this. This is ridiculous to me. I quit, I resigned, my time is over. I'm
Typically, you
finished.
have an exit interview, and if an employee doesn't do the exit interview, then I just type up a memo to file on boom, 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 boom. I wouldn't put an evaluation into the file. So if it's gonna go into an employee file,
well, Bill didn't want an exit interview.
I know he didn't want an exit interview, but she would still be entitled to write up evaluation of not evaluation form, she's gonna have to write up
And not just a
a
permanent.
memo to file. Here's what happened, I'm gonna show the dates, on this date I did this, on this date I did this, and I'm just putting it into overall view, blah, 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 blah. I'm not gonna rate him. By rating him, that's almost a performance evaluation, and he wasn't here. They did the performance evaluation after he resigned.
Well, the performance evaluations were due on
In
August
July.
20th, so they've known about having
But
to
he gave his
complete
notice on
these
the
from
13th, though.
July. Right, but they started this process in July with self-evaluations and all of this process, so that was an ongoing thing prior to the
It's just
resignation being
unfortunately the
received.
perception
Just the
is,
timing of it is,
it's unfortunately, you look at the perception, right, he gave his notice on the 13th, and then I give him negative on the 16th. Why? Now it's a bad
Right,
perception.
I can tell you what I think.
Well, and I understand it from your perspective, I just think it gives it's a bad perception. That's my thoughts. I don't know if you
And I
guys
have
agree
never,
or not.
I have never enumerated the reasons why I left. I just said in a general statement, we had a difference of philosophy of how the job should be conducted in the scope of the position. I've never gotten into any details. However, I will get into big time details if we get into this. Cause that really,
What are your guys' thoughts? You guys agree with my thought process or disagree with my thought process? I'm just
Well, I
curious.
agree with your thought process.
and I could detail the details with you if you like, on a one-on-one, that's
Sure.
fine. But I've never done that
We
with
should
anybody.
get Ellen in on this before we make any.
Well, I think before we do anything, but I just wanna kinda get the pulse of the board if I'm out of line or if you
No, I-
agree with me.
Some of the stuff I read, I don't like what I saw in there either, I mean, so that's like, you know.
I just, to me, it almost looks like, the perception is it's a vindictive valuation.
and
Whether or
I
not
don't
it's
think that
reality
was
or
the
not,
intent.
I don't think it might be the intent,
I mean,
it's just a perception.
And I spoke with Ellen about, you know, the evaluation process and the investigation you know, and I don't think from my conversations with her that it was malicious. I think
Well, we should
She
get
was
her in and
making an
discuss it
effort
with her though, or whatever,
to document.
before we start deciphering that, we should have it.
And that's where I almost think it's, would it be, for me personally, thought process, mine, is it might be better off to say, we're gonna set this over here and get rid of that, and now I'm gonna just do a memo to file, because he had given his notice and he was done on the 27th, I think Chris
Yeah.
last day.
Yep.
So you're done on the 27th, why would I have him come back and sign something on 9/7? That means it's almost like an exit interview, but it's
and I
not
don't
an
know when
exit
David
interview.
started trying to reach out to you.
I don't know why.
After I was gone.
I don't know why, what's the purpose? You know, if I have somebody that gave their notice, they're
Yeah.
no longer there.
Right.
There's one
And
for
I
Joe in there, though,
equate
too.
things to people in different lives, so
To award it, right, cause
He's
that
not-
was done before
Yeah.
he left.
you would never ask somebody to come back and sign your
I
evaluation,
mean,
so I
that's a
put
good
it in your
point, cause
file.
his resignation was effective August 1st, and those were not turned in until the 20th.
Yeah.
So his was the same.
Did he come back and sign it after the fact?
I believe he did sign his.
So, I mean, it's
But
just,
his letter was received after his effective date of his resignation. But like he just hadn't worked in however long, so.
okay. So he resigned, but after
And,
the,
yeah,
it's different.
Just
And I
Put it
sent you a
after.
copy too when I,
yes, I have a
Right,
copy,
then,
yeah, yeah, cause I was on vacation when that came in.
I don't know, to me, it's almost, I'd rather, just to avoid the whole conflict issue, I'd rather have it pulled.
You can't,
just
can
put
we
a memo
vote
to
to
file.
pull it?
It's up to you guys.
Well, I would want her to, I wanna give her the opportunity to do that.
You're her boss.
I still like to give her the
yeah, but
opportunity.
she's in charge of the department, you can't just start mini managing her.
Okay, whatever.
You know, from the
Micromanagement.
selectman position, it's like, you can't just.
The other thing is
micromanage
I have
your
a,
department. That's
I
what-
almost, and nothing against you, Bill, but it's almost like, it becomes almost like a conflict, so to me, it's like, how do I do the conflict resolution? Conflict resolution to me is, here's a perfect way to get rid of it. Maybe we pull this and you can do a memo to file, and if he wants to have his own memo to have put in the reader file, then fine, it all goes into the personnel file and it's held into the personnel file. But, yes, he resigned on this date, it went into effect on this date, it's after the fact, does it have any value to it? No, it doesn't add any value to his HR file. If she wants to put a memo to the file, document all this stuff, and he wants to do something else, and document something else, I don't have a problem with that. But it also
Who
removes it
gets to
from
see
our
personnel
hands.
policies? Nobody, right?
Karen,
just,
we could, right, the select board
But
could,
no,
no?
well, you could, but as a quorum and three of you have to be present at the time to review them, or you request them to be brought in here.
like somebody from
One
the
of you-
outside can't.
Can't come in now.
No,
Yeah,
but
something.
you
One of you
have,
couldn't visit and
but you have access to all
I
of
have
that.
access to them.
Right, but I'm just saying, somebody,
An employee can access them and the
Right.
employee can give me permission to give them to a third party.
oh, okay.
So
I
if
thought-
somebody was looking for another
Right,
job
job,
and another
okay.
town said, hey,
Okay.
can I have a copy of that?
Okay.
I would get written permission from that employee.
Right,
and then-
just like-
Typically, like if he applied in Epping to be the ACO officer,
Right,
and they say, Bill, we want you to sign this form authorizing us to go get your HR file.
well,
He
it's
could
like
sign
motor
for
vehicles, you have to sign
medical,
a form.
medicals and stuff like
Right,
that, they all do
right.
it, so.
Yeah,
Well, and like I've done that for other employees in here that have moved on.
Yep.
They've requested copies.
so, question for, as an employee to you. If we bring that up and the chief is here and we decide we're gonna discuss that,
Mhm.
or can I decide that we're gonna discuss that with her?
You can
And I would be separate from the board now, just be sitting over here as an employee across from.
Yeah, but you can
Right,
say,
so-
I don't wanna go to non-public,
Non-public, no,
just
I-
like I already asked you, I said, do you wanna go to non-public?
No, I wouldn't wanna go in non-public, I have nothing to hide, but I will tell you that if we do bring that up and we do discuss it, there are things that are gonna come out in our public discussion that are not gonna be pleasant.
So you could
Because
decide to go into non-public for reputation.
And I would, I would warn the board that that's gonna happen, that I'm gonna discuss things that I think reflect on me that are a direct result of why I resigned in the first place, and I think they're contained in that evaluation as well. And I will bring those up, and I don't know if I have to go in
Would it,
non-public for that.
well, if it has to do with anybody's reputation or,
It has to do with my own reputation.
but does it
Certainly,
have,
my
but
reputation, I
does,
believe, has been damaged by that evaluation.
but does it have anything to do with,
Her reputation?
yes,
Or anybody in the department.
would it involve anybody in the department
Oh, yeah.
besides yourself? So then therefore
It
we
would-
have to
it
go
would certainly
non-public,
involve
because
the
it wouldn't
chief.
involve just you, it would involve other employees.
But if she agreed to keep it public as well, then we could just discuss it in public like we're doing right now.
Correct.
Yes, but I don't think that would ever
but
happen,
Why not?
aren't we just gonna ask her?
What has she got to hide?
so there would be other,
To put
I
it
think you're gonna have
aside.
other officers' information that's gonna come into
No,
play.
no, I wouldn't bring it, I would not do that to the other officers downstairs. It would just be her and me, and it would be the things that I think happened that caused me to resign. Cause I will tell you right now, I love that job. I wasn't making any money at it, pretty seriously, but I really love that job, and I think I did a really good job at that job. And things happened with us that caused me to just say, look, I can't do this anymore. And I didn't bring them up, and I don't intend to bring them up unless that becomes an issue. And at which point, then I'm gonna, then let the chips fall where they
Do you
fall.
want,
So how,
that's for, if I can use it or not. And we'll, I guess we'll see if she wants to come, what she wants to do. But I would be fine for her come to our meeting next Tuesday, if she wants to discuss it. But first, I'd like to see if there's,
see if she.
A resolution
Can you ask her if
yeah.
she will be forward?
if you wanna pull this and add a memo to the file, and then you're welcome as an employee, if you wanna put a memo into your file. You said you
Yeah.
have other people that wanna sign stuff and say stuff about how your service and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fine, then we can put that into the memo to the HR file too, and then it's in the file, and maybe we pull this valuation, and then it's a dead issue.
Cause I certainly wouldn't put my foot job with that. And that's about the worst evaluation I've had in my life.
Does that sound reasonable? Yes,
Sounds
no?
good, yeah, sounds good, no, sounds like a good plan. I think you're talking to Karen, that's right.
Yeah.
Talking to Karen,
talk to
cause I'm
Karen.
seeing the shock on her face. She's stressed, I
Sorry to
can
put
see
you in
it.
this situation, but you know,
She's biting her lip right down quick, she's not sure.
I understand it, well, she deals with HR stuff too, so I wanna get her thought processes on the HR
Yeah.
aspect of it.
She's
What are
got-
your thoughts on the HR aspect of it?
I need to process all this.
Okay.
You can say it, I don't hold it against you. Be good about being objective about things. I don't hold anything against her as the chief of police, I don't really,
Okay.
you know, I think she's done a pretty good job, I have different thoughts about that, but you know, I tried very hard to be objective being down there. It was not an easy position to be in, being a selectman and being
And
an
being
employee at the
part-time,
same
no, it's
time.
not
It was
easy.
really a really hard line to walk, but I really, really went out of my way not to blur the line. That's why I quit, because I could have blurred the line a long time ago, and that would have just been ugly all the way around for everybody.
And that's one of the reasons I'm looking at, like, I gotta look at it as an employee versus, and you're a selectman and there's a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff.
no. Well,
I do, actually, I gotta.
one's different than the other, and I really have tried hard not to.
To separate those hats.
Yeah, I really have tried hard to do
Alright, so we got that kind of resolved. Anything
that.
else?
Thank you. Just let me know.
Anything else?
No, I have
I think that's quite enough for
Anything
one day.
much?
Do you have time to entertain a couple of questions?
Oh,
Sure, always.
Always do.
Your mom definitely can answer all these questions for you.
My understanding that is the town of Brentwood has 3 municipal officials that are also town employees. And I believe that's our police chief, our fire chief, and the road agent. And they have to be appointed every year.
The road agent isn't, no, the road agent should be appointed, he hasn't been appointed.
Yeah,
I know,
she-
I went back and researched that.
It's been a long time.
Yes, you want me to tell you, I had those notes.
2001.
Does he have to be appointed? Is
Yes,
that the
every
deal?
year,
supposed to be
every
every
year.
year.
I went back and researched it.
And the fire chief is a 3-year.
The fire chief was a 3-year,
And the police chief's 1 year.
it was 1 year initially.
I don't have that, but I went.
And that was the question I had, is when is each of these individuals up for reappointment?
Fire chief was 3 years, and how long's he been here?
Bill
2?
was just reappointed in April.
Yeah.
So he's got
Ellen-
3 years.
Yep, Ellen will be appointed in February.
Yeah.
And I have a question about her. When was she hired?
She was appointed,
She didn't get sworn in until February.
right,
But the new law for the retirement system,
passed after she was appointed.
no, she's not grandfathered.
She
It
is-
passed January 1st. It's January 1st, and she'll have to only work 25 hours a week.
Going forward, yeah, you're right.
I thought she was grandfather. I thought we went over that.
I don't think
We
so.
had that reviewed by
Yeah,
legal.
we did.
Before she was
Well, I'm
appointed, we
asking,
had it reviewed by
I'm
legal.
asking, is there a letter that she was, when she got hired? Maybe that's a different
Maybe it was
date.
before the first of the year she was
I
hired or
know
something.
we had that went through legal before we,
Could be.
Yeah, I did, cause I called
legal had to go
So I'm
through
wondering,
all
was
that.
she, is there a letter that says she was, you know, she,
Grandfathered in, she can
had
work
the
more than
job,
25
but
hours.
she didn't get sworn in until February, so that new law.
I think she had to get certified or something like
I'll have
that.
to
There was
look
some, I know there was some hiccup in there, but they confirmed that she was grandfathered, cause I remember that was one of the issues we had.
Yeah,
This is personnel issues as well that we're talking about right now, cause there's an issue that I have with that whole issue. I don't know if you wanna talk about it now or you wanna talk about it later, but in terms of her certification. So that's a personnel issue, I don't think we need to be talking about it in public. So we
Well,
answered-
If I could just go-
Question that
Sure, go ahead.
is-
Okay.
So our police chief was appointed in February and possibly hired at some point before that. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, we gotta look at
Yeah, I'll
those,
have to look at
we
the
have to look
letter
at
of
the
offer.
dates. I know there was an offer letter and acceptance and, cause we
And-
had a time frame that she had to finish up her other job before she could come here.
All right, so I'll follow up with Karen in writing with that question. But those periods, the 1 year for the chief, the 3 years for the fire chief, and the 1 year for the road agent, is that statutory? Like we did the fire chief for 3 years because that's what.
I think the road agent is statutory, I think the others are.
The road agent is
selectmen.
statutory, it's 1 year.
But I think the others, I think the fire and police is up to the board of selectmen.
Yeah, I
To-
don't
for a
think
term
there's
up
a thing for the
Because fire chiefs, you can put, if you don't put an end date, they just roll on and indefinitely.
Right, that's like,
until they-
every year we used to swear in the police officers,
Right.
and then they stopped doing that.
Right,
Cause they had to be appointed every year.
Every year we had to sign appointment slips for all, and I had to swear them all in, yeah, and then the law changed, so you don't put an end date, but then you can't,
but then you can't get rid
you
of them
can't
unless you
get
have,
rid of it easy
cost.
either, yeah.
Well, that's
you have to have gross misconduct,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
So do we know when the road agent's appointment is due?
In March,
It'll be in
In
this
March.
year.
March.
And that's voting, right? They have to
No,
vote that.
You just
no.
appoint them,
You
that's
We
all.
just
appoint
appoint them to the
every year.
selectmen's meeting?
Yeah.
No, so why can't we do that now, if he hasn't been appointed
We
forever?
could. Yeah, we could.
yeah, and then he's, yeah.
So we should probably get that done
We
pretty
should
soon.
probably get that
We'll do
done.
that soon.
Next meeting.
Thanks, Butch.
Next meeting.
And one other request, at a meeting a long time ago, there was discussion of changing some of the job descriptions. And I know how easy it is to lose track of things, and I would just ask if that topic is going to come up again, that it gets posted on the agenda, so it's not just something that
Yep.
slips by at a meeting.
We're always, I
I'm always
know,
working on it.
yeah, they're always working on them, it's just a matter of.
Yeah, but when you guys are gonna vote on changing something,
Yeah, okay,
I would like to see that on the agenda if it can be on there, because then it's not
okay.
so moved and went past, and when did that get changed? So, and that's it, that's all I have for tonight.
Yeah.
So we going back into non-public?
I gotta go to work.
I don't
You
think
guys
so.
wanna figure all that
We're all
out?
set not to go back into non-public, or do you wanna go into non-public?
No, we don't have to go
Okay.
into non-public. I
Motion
will
to
just-
adjourn,
I will just tell you.
Motion.
second,
Second.
Oh, there we go.
aye, go.
And we'll
We're
pay my
done.
tax.